What's going on? Welcome back to my channel. So the Diddy trial is basically over. The only thing we're waiting on now is sentencing. You know what I mean? Sentence should be October 3rd, or it might be a little earlier than that, but it's going to be October 3rd, man. The prosecutors want to give Diddy about 15 to 25 years, man. You know what I mean? So Diddy was not guilty on the RICO charges and also the sex trafficking charges. He was not guilty on that. He was guilty on the transportation for prostitution. You know what I mean? He was guilty on that. And I had a feeling, like I said before, that I know he probably was going to be guilty on that. But the RICO charges that they came in, it didn't really hit. You know what I mean? I had a feeling that it really wasn't going to hit because Diddy's like, he's by himself. It wasn't really enterprise and stuff like that. So the jurors had to listen to all the testimony. So now, not one of the actual jurors, but he's one of the alternate jurors. He did an interview on CNN a couple of days ago, and I thought that his answers during his interview was him speaking what he felt, what he thought about the whole case, about Cassie testimony, Jane Doe testimony, other testimonies, also what he thought about Diddy, you know. But during his interview, you kind of can tell that he really wasn't like, he was being careful with almost everything he was talking about. But enough of me talking, man. Let's get into the interview.
Now is an alternate juror who was in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. George is joining us right now. This was 7 weeks of your life, hearing all of this testimony. You were an alternate. You did not deliberate, but did you agree with the final verdict?
I understood the final verdict. And I think if I, because I took a copious amount of notes overall, I took 350 pages worth of notes. Because at the end, we weren't told who was an alternate, who was the main juror until literally the last second when they were reading when the judge was reading his entire statement at the end. It was like, the first 12 of you are the jurors, the last 5 are the alternates. So we didn't know, even in the jury room, no one treated everyone, we all were equal because we didn't know who was who.
Would you have acquitted him on RICO?
I think reading all my notes and looking back at the evidence, I probably would have reached the same conclusion as the other jurors.
What was it about that charge?
I don't, the thing with the when it, because we were asked and the judge had instructed us that we have to find, we have to find him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Mm-hmm. And I think there was always a little bit of doubt in people's mind. And I think it was a tough case to prove, especially the first one. And, there was always a little bit of doubt there, even from the beginning.
Why did you doubt?
I think some of the charges, some of the witnesses, if you look at it one way, but then when you were listening to the defense, you could see it their way as well.
Were there any witnesses that made you think, I don't believe this?
There was one that I think, unanimously, we kind of all said, like, wow. Like, it was almost like watching, like, TV. Mm. It was like, like when I think her name was Dawn Richard, that one. Mm-hmm.
Dawn Richard is, she's one of Diddy's ex singers on his label. Danny Kane. Yeah, her testimony was all over the place. You know what I mean? When the prosecutors was questioning her, she seemed legitimate. You know what I'm saying? She was telling everything the truth. The next thing you know, the defense got up there and just shred her apart. Like it was wild, man.
When she on cross-examination, I mean, I never saw such a cross-examination. It was very impressive to watch.
What was it about it?
I think just how the defense, got into her and really made her, look very not credible. I mean, I even wrote in my notebook that it was like a takedown.
Really? Yeah. And that was pretty early on.
That was pretty early on.
From the opening statements, did you have a mindset of who you thought had a better case?
No. I think overall, in the way I look at it, both sides presented really good. Both sides presented themselves well. We were very impressed with the prosecution and the defense, how they, the professionalism, how they carried themselves. I mean, it was really good lawyering, as they say.
Racketeering is notoriously a complex case. Did you feel that the prosecution presented enough evidence to support that there was even an enterprise?
I think they did the best that they could. But but I think it was a tough case to prove.
Why?
I mean, when you look at the charges, kidnapping, arson, forced labor, the government had one side, but then the defense, they had some pretty good rebuttals to it. So I mean that I think added some doubt always, and I think in people's mind.
You didn't hear from some of the people the government said were co-conspirators, like employees,
like Christina Karam,
for example, or D-Rock.
Yeah.
Did that affect your thoughts about the case?
I don't think so. No.
Would you have wanted to hear from them?
We always thought that maybe we would hear from them, but maybe we also understood maybe why they wouldn't be called.
Why?
Because maybe they
So Christine Karam was Diddy's assistant. You know what I mean? It seemed like we hear her name through almost every witness paperwork, text messages and stuff like that she said a lot of stuff also, and she was involved with a lot of stuff, but then the prosecutors never really called her up. You know what I mean? Also D-Rock, Diddy's friend, also security guard. You know what I mean? So both of those two really played a pivotal role in everything. So they never got called to the stand. They testified. So maybe if they would have gotten them on the stand, maybe that would have helped the prosecutor through this whole situation, but they never did. You know what I mean? So
they didn't want to testify, or they wouldn't really be proving the case, or maybe it would be not advantageous to be called. So, but honestly, we were just waiting till the end, until when the judge gave his instructions and how to interpret the law, because I think everyone really didn't have anything made up, their mind made up, or in any way. It was really, everyone was waiting to see how, the definitions and how everything was going to be interpreted and what they were to be looked at. Exactly.
So important.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the sex trafficking cases, because of court charges. Obviously, Cassie Ventura testified visibly pregnant for days.
Yes.
How did her testimony impact you in your understanding of the case?
It did. I listened, we listened very intently. It was, I think, 5 days or forever of thing. And it was very riveting. And it was very riveting testimony and very credible testimony.
You believed her?
I mean, I think we did. I think we did. I mean, she wouldn't have done all this just to come up there and lie about everything. So no, I don't think even the defense didn't come out and say or anything like that.
Did the money that they talked about in terms of a civil settlement she received, did that color her testimony for you at all?
I don't think so, no. I don't think so, no.
Did you look at the defendant, Diddy Combs, differently after her testimony?
No, I didn't really look at him too much. I mean, I always looked at him because my point of view was just literally at him. Like,
I don't think she meant it like that, buddy.
Like, some people are on the side, but I was more in the corner. So I was always like staring at him. But I don't think he was mostly just very composed and talking with his lawyers and very in control, it seemed like. Because I think I'm not really familiar too much with cases and I don't really follow cases in court, so I don't know how defendants usually act. But sometimes what I've heard in from the news is that some defendants, they just sit very stoically. They don't interact with their lawyers. They just let their lawyers talk and go. But he was very, talking with them, writing notes, doing that. So you could tell that he was, he was fighting for himself.
You saw some very graphic images, videos. You heard very sexual and graphic details. What was that like, hearing that? And how did it impact how you viewed the case?
No, they were very graphic, and but I think overall, it was we were looking at it from like one side, and it was definitely riveting and eye opening.
What did you see on the videos? The press wasn't able to see it in real time.
Yeah. No, I mean, they were showing some of there was both the freak offs and hotel nights, as they were called, from both of them. But it was
what did they show in those videos?
They showed, well, again, you know, the defense and the prosecution showed different clips, so they were very selective. Like the prosecution was showing more, you know, just Cassie just sitting around.
The defense showed that.
Defense showed that, yeah.
Just her sitting around not engaging in sexual activity.
Yes.
The prosecution, when you had to have your headphones on and otherwise, what were you seeing then?
There was sexual activity, but I mean, it wasn't really.
Was it force?
No, it didn't. It didn't seem forced. It was actually like pretty tame.
Really?
Yeah.
Did she?
It was just a lot of rubbing oil and stuff on there. It was.
Yeah, we know it was a lot of baby oil, man. So this right here is kind of telling, man. You have a juror or alternate juror right here, seeing the freak offs and stuff like that. And we heard from a couple of male escorts that, you know, that Diddy wasn't really forcing Cassie or whatever, you know what I mean? You know, it was basically they just having sex, and you know what I mean, Diddy sitting in the corner kind of direct or whatever, you know what I mean? So this right here coming from a juror, man, is kind of telling, you know.
Wasn't anything too, you know, graphic. I would say.
Let me ask you, this jury that deliberated did not find sex trafficking when it came to Cassie Ventura. They also didn't find it when it came to Jane. And I want to ask you about Jane in a moment. But did it surprise you when it came to Cassie Ventura that they did not convict on sex trafficking?
No, I don't. I think it was a difficult thing to prove, and I think there was always some doubt, you know, whether, because you know, I think what the judge says, it has to be forced. And I think the defense did show some messages where it didn't seem that it was forced.
Oh, her text messages when she talked about it.
Yeah.
That was really important to you to consider.
I think that was one aspect. Yes.
Did that make you feel that it was consensual?
It did seem like it. Yeah.
Talk to me about.
And that's another thing about what I was saying also is that, you know, I was so conflicted on, was Diddy 100% guilty in all this? Then you see the text message like that right there, like she was a willing participant in wanting to do the freak out. She set the freak outs up herself, find some of the male escorts herself. Also, she had sex with some of the escorts without even Diddy being there. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, wow, like, is he really guilty of all this, or was it just a love fest, love triangle, swinger lifestyle? You know what I mean?
Even in the videos and everything seemed very consensual.
Really?
Yeah.
How about with Jane? Obviously, she testified for several days, very emotional at times.
It was. Yeah.
What did you think of her credibility? Did you believe her?
I think it was very again, riveting, you know, long testimony, and I mean, I did believe her, at least on some parts. Some parts were a little bit didn't add up as much. Seemed a little strange.
What part seemed strange to you?
One part for me that seemed a little strange was the night, I think, when Jane was in, you know, when they had the fight.
Yeah.
It just, the timing seemed a little like you going from like one closet to another closet to the, you know, it just, something didn't add up there.
How about the impact when you heard that her rent was being paid or her lawyer is being paid by the defendant? Did that surprise you?
That was surprising, yeah, and it was still being paid.
What did you think when you heard that?
Wow, you know, wow, it was surprising.
I want to ask you as well.
I think in that instance right there, because it was surprising to me also. I'm like, you got this Jane Doe on this stand, and Diddy's paying for her lawyer fees. He's still paying her rent. And I'm thinking now, like, maybe that was a strategic move that Diddy and his team elaborate on. You know what I'm saying? Meaning, like, Diddy continued to let that play out because he want the court to see that, listen, hey, I'm still paying her rent, and her lawyer fees, how can I be a bad guy? How can I force this woman to do anything? How can I force this woman to stay with me or coerce her? You know what I'm saying? She can leave anytime. She got her own place. Yeah, I'm paying her rent and her lawyer fees, but she can leave anytime. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's crazy.
About, I mean, obviously I'm talking about Diddy as if I know him. Like we know his name because he's,
Yeah.
you know, this very famous person. Did the fact that he was so famous, did that impact you in any way? Did you know him?
No, I did not know him.
Did you know his music at all?
No, I didn't really listen to his music.
So seeing him was just a stranger.
Pretty much. I mean, I know of him, and I know, but I don't really follow his music or the rap industry in general. So that might have been why. I think a lot of the jurors, I think if you look at their backgrounds, I don't think they were, you know, they didn't follow this or that. I mean, that's probably why they were chosen. I was never expected to be chosen, to be honest.
Yeah, well,
I wasn't even looking for this at all.
Who would be,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But let me ask you, the other jurors, when you would talk to them, I know you weren't allowed to deliberate at all in this, but when you would talk to them, were they familiar with who he was? Did his celebrity status seem to impact them at all?
No, I don't think so. No, I think everyone was really waiting for the interpretation of the law. And
is that because you were confused about the case, or because you just wanted to know your marching orders?
I think we wanted to know our marching orders and how we need to look at everything. You know, I think we were really, I think, at least for me, we want to be, and we are asked to be as impartial as possible. So we needed to know, you know, you hear both sides of, you know, one side, the other side. And it's very important to know what we're actually supposed to be, you know, ruling at, and how we're supposed to be looking at it from the judge.
There was a juror who was excused close to the end of the trial. What did you know about that, and why?
We weren't told, you know, what happened. I mean, I think someone had mentioned that it was, I think he lied about where he was from or something like that. But really, we were kind of kept in like isolation from like the whole day. Not really told much, told to not, you know, follow any news or turn off everything. Don't talk to anyone. Don't talk among yourselves about the case, which we followed. We really followed the judge's instructions. At least I did too.
So when that
person,
person,
myself,
yeah, well, when that person was no longer in the chair after seeing them there for 7 weeks on end, or however many weeks it was in at that point, did you think it was odd? Did you have concerns?
No. I mean, that's why they have they call 18 people, because then they knew it was a long case, and there's probably going to be someone's going to get sick or someone's going to drop out. So that's why. So,
would you have wanted to hear Diddy testify? Would it have made a difference to you?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Wow.
It wouldn't have made a difference because it wouldn't have added to your understanding, or because you'd heard enough?
I think we heard enough. I don't know if it would have helped or hindered. I haven't really thought about that as much.
Yeah.
But I think it was really helpful, again, in the end, at least for what we were looking forward to. What I was looking forward to the most was just the 61-page judge instructions of how we're supposed to be charged the law.
They did find him guilty of those transportation to engage in prostitution charges. The prosecution was being very sarcastic and laughing at the idea that these men were just being paid for their time. How did you see that statement?
You mean the defense?
Well, the prosecution said that, well, yes, you're right. The defense said that they were being paid for the time. The prosecution was mocking that. Who did you believe?
No, I think the evidence to show that there was the transportation of prostitution, I think was overwhelming, and that's why the jury found him guilty on those two counts.
You can see his, like I said, you can see his answers, man. Like, hear his answers, and he's answering, but it's like he's not really answering how she want him to answer. You know what I mean?
If you had been,
because the prosecution, not only they showed the hotel records, the bank records, the flight information. For that, I think that they proved their case beyond a reasonable doubt.
If for some reason you were to ever talk to Diddy, what would you tell him about how you saw this trial?
To be honest, I really wouldn't want to talk to him or anyone associated with that. I just wanted to kind of tell my side of the story, but I really wouldn't want to, associate with him or any of the people that are with him.
Can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
And it's about the video from the Intercontinental Hotel that you saw
Yes.
a lot.
Yeah, it was.
Was it a? Did you
they
see
did it? Sometimes they did it like frame by frame by frame.
What do you think of that? Did you see it enough? Too much? Too little? What?
I mean, it was a very bad video. I think they showed it. I think they showed it enough. I mean, they tried to show it both sides, and
did it make a difference to you in the actual charges that you would have had to deliberate over? Because he wasn't charged with.
He wasn't charged with domestic violence. No.
Did that surprise you?
No, because I don't think domestic violence is a federal crime. So.
Did it cloud the way you saw the rest of the charges by seeing that video?
No, I think we looked at just what we were supposed to be, what the judge had said we were supposed to look at, and then based off of the evidence that was presented to us, they ruled in that way.
Do you think he should go to prison?
That's for the judge to decide. I mean, he was found guilty on both counts. So we're the sentencing is not up to us.
Mm-hmm.
It's not up to me. It's up to the judge, who was by the way, we were all impressed with the judge and how he was. So that.
Yeah, man. So you have a juror right there kind of explaining from his point of view, even though he wasn't actually a juror in that room deliberating, he was basically there, giving his own point of view and what he would have answered. You know what I'm saying? What he would have found Diddy guilty or not guilty on. You know what I mean? So it was very interesting that this interview and he got with the CNN analyst right there, man. It was a good interview, but like I said, man, you can tell that his answers wasn't. I mean, it was his answers, but it wasn't 100% like how she wanted him to answer. You know what I mean? It was like he was thinking a little bit before he gave it that answer. You know, but this case was wild. It was all over the place, and it was just I was so undecided on like was he really going to be guilty on all the charges? You know, and like I said plenty of time before that, Diddy is a horrible person, and he should be in jail for the things that he did to Cassie in the Jane Doe, beating up Cassie like that. You know what I mean? That's a horrible person, man. You know what I mean? So he does need to be in jail. But do he need to spend his life in jail, the rest of his life in jail, 20 years? No, I don't think so. But yesterday, we do have breaking news on Cassie, man. Cassie seemed to be being sued. Well, her and Diddy seemed to be getting sued by a male escort. Yeah, so you can see right here, man, Cassie Diddy sued male escort, claims she gave him STD and alleged she aborted their pregnancy. Wow. Because you got to remember that Cassie was messing with these male escorts, man, without condoms. You know what I mean? So is it really shocking that they get some type of disease? You know what I mean? But let's read this article. Then we're going to play the male escort video because he did make a live video. So the male escort name is Clayton Howard. One of the male escorts, prosecutors say Diddy hired is dragging Diddy and Cassie to court. He says Cassie gave him a sexually transmitted disease and got an abortion after he got her pregnant. Howard, who says he went by Dave when he was hired for freakouts with Diddy and Cassie, makes the salacious claims in a new lawsuit obtained by TMZ. The escort claims he contracted an STD from having sex with Cassie, and he says he impregnated her and she aborted the pregnancy without telling him, and he alleges she then continued having unprotected sex with him. Howard is one of 7 male escorts federal prosecutors in Diddy's criminal case say were transported across state lines for the purpose of prostitution. He claims he was hired for freakouts with Diddy and Cassie starting in 2009, and he says for more than 5 years, they traveled him for the purpose of commercial sex, using him as an entertainment to satisfy their sexual fantasies and personal ambitions. Howard claims Diddy and Cassie drugged, manipulated, and traumatized him while they themselves engaged in a toxic domestic abusive relationship that often became violent. He says Cassie manipulated him into taking ecstasy and having unprotected sex. And he says she would order him to masturbate for hours on end, resulting in tears, skin peeling, and escaping to his penis. Wow. Ain't that much sex? Jesus. Howard claims he's dealing with Diddy and Cassie left him with physical and psychological injury, lost wages and benefits, medical expenses, pain and suffering, emotional distress, and mental anguish, plus loss of enjoyment of life. He was not called as a witness, but was mentioned several times during testimony in Diddy's trial. A federal agent testified about Clayton's stay at a Four Seasons and a flight from NYC to LA, all paid by Diddy. Diddy was acquitted on racketeering and sex trafficking, but was found guilty of transporting escorts across state lines for the purpose of prostitution. He was denied bail and remains in custody awaiting sentencing and facing up to 20 years behind bars. Wow, man, this is very interesting. This is very interesting, man. Let me play the guy video and I get my full reaction.
So good morning. I am Dave, the man who has just sued Cassandra Ventura for damages involved in the Sean Combs sex trafficking trial. And I'm looking through social media and I see a lot of the women out there, particularly black women like myself, who choose to victim shame me and try to do everything they can to discredit me, because the truth is that the loss of the Sean Combs trial was a loss to the Me Too movement and to hating women like the women who are trying to insult me. So let me tell you something, you women out there who would like to insult me. This is my story. I was paid by Cassie, Cassandra Ventura, for 8 years to be her male provider. I didn't have to be the best looking guy. I was the best in bed. And because I was the best in bed, guess what? I was given this arrangement. I was coerced. I was drugged. I was manipulated with promises of money and gifts for over a period of 8 years to continue to be this woman's provider at her expense and at the expense of Diddy. Now, at the time, legally, I didn't know my rights as well as I do now. I didn't create this conflict with Cassandra Ventura. She created it with me. She's the one who decided to bring up things that happened over 10 to 15 years ago to hold Sean Combs accountable for what was a partial truth. She's the person who introduced me to the U.S. Attorney's Office. She's the person who told the U.S. Attorney's Office about our relationship. So in essence, those out there who want to hate on me, who want to say that I'm attacking Cassie, you should realize the truth, that Cassandra Ventura, your idol, did this to herself. She exposed herself to liability when she got on the stand and decided to mention me as the male escort who was with her when she overdosed and Diddy made her have sex with him. That was a lie, people. Cassie had just woke up from sleeping 8 hours. Myself and Sean Combs were exhausted. We wanted to go home. Cassie's the one who forced that sexual encounter. People, she tells you that Sean Combs made her have sex on her menstrual cycle. I can't speak for anyone else but myself. But I know the one time that did happen, that Sean Combs was not responsible for that Cassie, in a drunken, intoxicated, hormonally imbalanced state due to her period, manipulated and forced herself on me during her menstrual cycle. And what I mean by that is I had no knowledge she was on her menstrual cycle because the room was completely dark. She manipulated the room. She manipulated the environment to get what she wanted, and then she totally got up like I was the one who should have been grateful. You're on your period. That's disgusting, and I deserved more respect than that. As a man, if I had laid down with a woman and forced myself on her and orgasmed in her and she got up and it was leaking out of her, guess what? I would have raped her. So by statute, by case law definition, Cassandra Ventura sexually assaulted me. I'm not looking to destroy Cassie. I've given Cassie more than a year to settle this before things got out of control. The problem is she's being supported by women like you who would choose to attack male victims instead of accept the truth, which is that a woman could have lied to get revenge on the ex-boyfriend who broke her heart and hurt her. It happens, people. They say hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, and that's true. If you hurt some women, they will do everything in their power. If you hurt some men, they'll do everything in their power to hurt you. But I want to end this by saying this. Cassie did this to herself. They say he who sets out on the course of revenge should dig 2 graves. People, Cassie dug the grave that is Clayton Howard herself. Cassie got on the stand trying to destroy Diddy. She should have took her $20-30 million and walked into the sunset, people. She should have never gotten on the stand and created further liability for herself by telling more of the lie that she created to get this man sent to prison for his life. She made a mistake when she got on the stand, people. She made a mistake when she got on the stand and lied about the events with Clayton Howard. Clayton Howard is a victim of Cassandra Ventura. Clayton Howard didn't ask to be in a relationship with Cassandra Ventura while she was sleeping with numerous men per week. I get it. You all think I was a nasty male prostitute sleeping with women, all different women all the time. It actually didn't work like that. To have certain types of people that can pay you that well, what you really have to do is you have to focus on people who are affluent. And affluent people don't engage in activities like that. So I might have had a client once a month. The truth is I was only a male escort for 2 years. I continued in the profession because Cassie and Diddy continued to pay me very well. And I was an ex-con. I needed money. Yes, I was trapped in the situation. I'll admit that. I didn't know what to do. But does that mean I should be victim shamed because the same thing that happened to women all the time happened to me as a man? No. And for those women out there, for you black women, who choose to shame me as a black man for telling my truth, you should be ashamed of yourself. That's probably pretty much all I have to say. You will not see me too much in the media. I don't need the public to believe me. I just need a jury of my peers and 12 people to believe me in the court. And thanks to the testimony of Cassie during the trial of Sean Combs, I have that. Thank you for watching. Stop victim shaming. Thank you.
Wow. Listen, that's one of my escorts, man. And like people say, you got to believe all victims. So are we going to believe him? He was one of the male escorts. His name was brought up in this trial. You know what I'm saying? His name was brought up. So he was one of 7. And now he's coming out trying to sue Cassie and Diddy. And I already know Diddy going to have some lawsuits coming when he get out of jail. So I know that's given. But this right here is kind of surprising that a male escort want to sue Cassie out of this, you know what I mean? But he said he tried to settle this about a year ago. So now it's coming to light that we all just finding this out. And you got to remember that Cassie got $20 million from Diddy and $10 million from the hotel. So if everything is true about this guy, man, he might don't be the only one that might come out and try to sue Cassie. You know what I'm saying? So, like I say, man, he's a victim. Do we believe him? Do we not believe him? You know? And like I say, whole situation is wild. It's crazy. 6-7 weeks, man. This trial went by pretty fast. I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought it was gonna be pretty long, but it went by pretty fast. Yeah, so that's all I got, man. Listen, waiting to see what Diddy's sentence is gonna be. And hey, it's gonna be interesting, man. But until then, y'all tell me what y'all think about the whole situation, yo. Let me tell me what y'all think about that juror and tell me what y'all think about this male escort here. Do y'all believe him? Let me know in the comments.